24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Wow, wow, wow. Africa nakupenda san. You know that song, it's one of my favorite songs, especially, on a Tuesday evening like this. This is the African experience. You are with me, Dr. Hlami Ngwenya. This hour has become, one of the most exciting hour of the week because it is a session where we learn and we get inspired, from, different people from the African continent. I am not alone. I'm with my co-host, Mandla Aventina Mabunda. Mandla, good evening, my sister.
Good evening, Doc. It's so nice to join you, and I cannot wait to hear from our poet and our talented brother. So, looking forward to an interesting show.
Yes, yes. We were talking with you the other day that, this session has become, one of the most important shows, and we always look forward to it. I know when we are preparing for the show, we get excited because we bring very exciting people. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't disappoint on the African Experience show. We bring you talent. We bring you people who are doing extraordinary things, Africans that are doing extraordinary things. And tonight, we are fly with us. We are going all the way to the United Kingdom because we found talent there. Who we bring for you tonight is none other than Elliot Msindo. Elliot, good evening to the African Experience Show.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We don't want to even spend a lot of time beating around the bush. We are going straight into the show. Elliot Msindo, when we communicated with you virtually, you told me that you are actually Zimbabwean born, but you live in the UK. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So I was born in Zimbabwe in a small area called Shurugu in the Midlands province, and I moved to the UK in 2017.
Okay. Yes, maybe let's start by saying, who are you in a nutshell? Just tell us a little bit about yourself in the nutshell, then we go straight, to other questions that we have prepared for you.
So my name is Elliot Msindo. As you said, I'm Zimbabwean. I was born in Zimbabwe, grew up in Zimbabwe, in the dusty areas of our rural lands. And that's where I learned poetry, both in my mother tongue, Shona, and in English. So I grew up there most of my life, and with the experience, of growing up in the rural areas, the life experiences molded my character, my personality as well. So I'm last born in a family of six, five boys, one girl, and it was quite a fight because we were five boys, and it's an experience that also helped me.
Mhm. Mandla, wow, wow, wow. What do you think, my sister there?
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. I just before I could log on, I went to YouTube and I saw a song slash rap session of our brother, and it was quite interesting. And dog, our favorite topic, it had everything to do with love. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait to hear more from our talented brother here.
Hmm. Okay, so Elliot, what brought you to the UK, if we may ask?
Um, so the economic hardships of our country, we were just seeking greener pastures. So my wife moved first to the UK. I moved to Cyprus. Then we reunited in the UK. in 2017. I was pursuing my studies in Cyprus before moving to the UK. And
Mhm.
uh, before all that, I was writing poems. I started poetry way back when I was still in high school, and the passion has always been there.
Okay. I know we will get into the poetry that you're writing and all that. Maybe let me put you on the spot. What do you miss the most about Africa? Africa in general. Now that you are in the UK, you were in Cyprus, and then you are beginning to see the difference in all that. What do you miss the most?
Don't even take me there. I miss everything about home.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, they say home is the best. When I was in high school, I remember a book we used to read. It says there was a phrase where the author said, "Home is where I hang my hat."
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so the food, the weather, the interaction, social interaction in
Mm,
Africa is actually different from here. We back home we've got a lot of social support, and in
mm,
the UK at times it gets so isolated because the
mm,
social setup is quite different from where we grew up, and
mm,
the support may not always be there, especially if you are not someone who is quite who is an extrovert. So
mm,
the food as well is different. We miss our traditional food, our traditional fruits, where we go to the bushes and pick up some wild fruits.
mm,
All those things, the support network and life in general, it's more economic driven in the UK rather than social. So it's
mm,
difficult to have that life work-life balance at times.
mm,
Wow, what an interesting story. But I want to take you back a bit. I know you studied back in Zim, social sciences, social development, social services. And I know when you first started writing, there's a writing about I Fight Me. There's a
Yeah.
collective of poems that, you are really talking about mental health, mental awareness. I mean, you started this thing way before it was fashionable, really, to look after our mental health. Now, I want to know, how did you make that shift from what you studied academically and then now transitioning into poetry and creative writing? What inspired that?
Um, so I would say when I was in high school, I had a passion for poetry. So I chose my subjects. I was fortunate enough to be very close to some of my teachers. So they supported me to choose my subject. So I did English literature and Shona. It's our local mother tongue, Shona. So I chose those subjects because I had an interest in poetry and creative writing. So I thought that if I choose those subjects, it would help me with the skills of writing in my mother tongue and in English as well. So that's how I chose my A levels. I did Shona and English literature. But now the problem is those areas of studies for a degree level, it's difficult to get a degree that is quite marketable and a job that is rewarding. Most of the times it leads to teaching, which is not a very lucrative uh, job in terms of financial support. So my family who were supporting me, they were not very keen for me to pursue that area. So that's when I then chose sociology, which I did at the University of Zimbabwe. And funny enough, I still found a way to tie it to my poetry. So I then started writing more. That's when my passion for advocating for rights and the vulnerable people. That's when it started. So I started using my poetry writing skills and writing plays to add a voice, to the girl child, to teenage pregnancies, drug abuse, and all those subjects. So that's how it started. So when I got into university, I lost my mother in 2004 when I was doing my O levels, and it really affected my mental health. I didn't have a lot of support by then. So when then I had an opportunity to write, that's when I said, no, I think people need to get support around. And I decided to write a collection of poems on mental health because of experiences that I've gone through.
Wow, wow. I'm actually listening, and I'm sure our listeners are thinking, oh, we want to hear some of this poetry and all that. I think we'll have an opportunity where you can actually give us just a taste of how you do your poetry and all that. But what I'm picking from what you are saying is that you are one person who sees opportunities. Yeah, you see the connections, you want to pursue your passion. But also in cases where you lost your mother, and my condolences for that, although it happened some time back. But you saw an opportunity to rise up, given the challenges that you were going through in terms of mental health and whatnot. I think this is something that I'm learning, and I hope our listeners are picking something around that. Mandla, what do you think, my sister?
Sure. I am blown away about his choice even of titles for some of his poetry. Like if I can poke even further, if I can probe even more, the one about I fight me. Please tell us about the what was going through your mind when you came up with a title like that.
So I Fight Me is my first publication, the one that I published in 2018. So as I said, it's a collection of poems on mental illness. I took myself back to the time when I lost my mother. I was 17 by then. The struggles I went through internally because back home in the rural areas by then, mental health is not something that is talked about, and people might not even know what it is. So when I then grew up and had the knowledge of what was happening, that's when I started to reflect. And the struggle that I was going through on my own, it was the battle in the mind. So that's when I came up with the title "I Fight Me" because I was fighting myself to get up even though there were challenges that were suppressing me so that I couldn't get up. So that fight affected my mental health, it affected my physical health, it affected my social life. So at the end, that's when I came up with the title that even in difficult circumstances, it's not always the case that you are fighting someone, but sometimes you are fighting yourself, a battle that is within yourself. So if you look at the poems that are in there, most of them take a deep look at the challenges that people go through, like depression, anxiety, which are battles that they normally face on their own.
Wow, that is so unique. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, I want us to unpack a little bit. I know you didn't only publish, the and I Fight Me, you published a bit, and we're going to go through that. And perhaps you can also read maybe one of your favorite poems. I hope you have prepared that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we continue to talk to our beautiful, poet all the way from the United Kingdom. Let's take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the African Experience. You are with me, Dr. Hlami Ngwenya. I am always with my co-host, Aventina Mabunda. Tonight we are talking to Elliot Msindo, who is joining us all the way from the United Kingdom. He's a poet, he's an author, but he has a beautiful take, a different take on poetry. He writes about mental health and he writes about, other things. Elliot, before we went on an ad break, you were still telling us a little bit about your collection of poetry on with the book "I Fight Me." Um, I know that you have not only published that book, you also publish, other books as well. Tell us a little bit more about other publications that you have.
Okay. Yeah, so I Fight Me, it's a collection of poems on mental health, which focuses on the general it's a general collection. Then, because of the positive responses I got from the book, I did a book launch in 2018, if I remember very well. And most of the people who attended the book launch were Christians. So then we discussed in that at that book launch, and they said, "Oh, you know what? The the issue with mental health is actually serious in among Christian communities as well. So, but people are very good at masking it because when we go to church, we sing, happy, happy, God loves us. But we forget that individuals have got personal battles that they fight. They've got personal needs as well that affects their mental health. And one important aspect is the physical health, how much it affects the mental health. Because if people have got long term health conditions, it affects their mental health quite a lot. So, because of that discussion, um, I got an idea and I decided to write a collection of poems on mental health. But these ones were Christian poems on mental health
I see.
where
Mhm.
I encourage people that even if things are bad, God still remains in control. And like Job went through a difficult time, but he still held on to the end. So the collection brings an awareness to the Christian community that in church there is depression, there is anxiety, schizophrenic disorders, there is autism, there's everything that is also outside. So the people still struggle, with financial issues, health issues, struggle with managing children, managing marriages, divorce, and all those things that are still in check and it affects mental health. So that's when I came up with the book. And the small collection was published by Stanbra Press, which is based in Watford. So I
Yeah,
wrote,
I know you have it. Just show it. Show it to us. I think you have a book there.
yeah, yeah, this one. I
Uh,
don't think it comes out
okay.
well side, yes.
Yeah, no, we picked it somewhere. We will show it. DJ Bessie, that one. Yeah,
Yes, that's the
that
one.
one. Mm. What is the title? Oh,
God's
God's
little
little
book of
book of.
emotional health.
Wow, wow. Mandla.
Yes, it's very interesting. I really like how you are able to also include the Christian community and saying, look, we are still human and God still loves us and we still go through challenges just like other people who are not Christians. And I find that very liberating because, like you rightfully said, a lot of Christians find it hard now to admit that, you know what, I'm struggling with even raising my children. I'm struggling with paying my debt, because you're supposed to have all your eggs in order. So, Doc, it's quite interesting, and it's quite refreshing to see this kind of thought processing. But that is what we do, ladies and gentlemen, at African Experience. We give you an African experience, the way we see it, the way we do it, and the way we know how to. And now,
Yeah.
Mr. Msindo, let's come to the choice of your theme. So you chose a word written or spoken can change the world. So what inspired that theme?
So you know what the my experience with social media is that social media can either build or destroy. It's not social media only, but how I came up with that title is because if you look at most people who are maybe using social media, they some of them may get very strong negative comments from people. The one who types that message may not really think of the impact it has to the next person. And words are very powerful. So it's not only on social media, but as we interact as well as human beings, it's very wise to be conscious of how we choose our words, because a word spoken or written can have an impact, and the impact can be either positive or negative. So the positive energy is what we want, because me to be where I am believed in me and told me that, you know what, you are going to get through this. And that's a very positive encouragement. But if that same person would have come and said, you know what, you are just as good as nothing, you are useless, that was going to have a devastating impact. And that's what is happening to a lot of people, especially, the public figures. You do your art, you get a lot of criticism. Um, Either you do good or bad, still you get criticism. So that's when I came up with that theme, that maybe people would reflect on that statement and choose their words wisely in order to build other people.
Wow, 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 wow. I really like that because the theme also talks to, this theme of cyberbullying, where people are really bullying each other on social media and all that because of the things that they write, but also the things that they say. Thank you so much for educating us. Thank you so much because this is really, really inspiring. I know that, other than the two books that we have shown, you have written yet another book. I think the title was, Welcome to London or something like that. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
more about that. What inspired that and what is the book all about? DJ Messi, can we show that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Welcome to London.
Wow. So I think, Joku, you are a poet as well. So when choosing a title, the title is something that is quite difficult to choose. So what happened with this book? For the past few years, there's been a lot of migration from Africa coming to the UK. On a tier 2 visas, a lot of people have been coming as carers, as support workers, as nurses, and I think all of Africa. I've met people from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Zambia. They all come under that scheme. But the
Mm,
impression that people had of the UK, what is on the ground, and what they think it is, there was a disparity. People come with very high hopes, expecting to save about, 10,000 a year and building a house back home, investing
mm,
within a year, buying a car, sending stuff home. So,
mm,
and they also, some of them were not aware of the challenges like, high cost of living, rent house, um, child childcare, especially childcare, is a very, very challenging area in this country where because children get to be you have to drop off the kids at school. And so if you don't have someone to support you with that, it becomes very difficult to work. And housing is a bit expensive. Bills, you have to pay bills, water, gas, electric, Wi-Fi. There's also, all forms of money, I would say people who take advantage of others. It's still there. So people didn't have that understanding. So that's when, because of the experiences that I came across where people were facing a lot of challenges, that's when I decided to write that book because it is a it's a fiction. It's a story that is not true, but it has got a true reflection of what is on the ground in the UK, what happens in the UK.
I
So
see.
that's how I
So
came
those
up with
pounds, so those pounds that you think about when you get there and you realize, hey, you actually have to spend them there, right? Wow.
yeah.
So where can people get your books? People who are interested in reading your books, where can they find that?
So the Welcome to London is available on Amazon and I Fight Me. They're on Amazon.
Mhm,
Then
mhm,
this one, God's Little Book of Emotional Health, it's on Life Source, which on Press, which is a publishing house
mhm,
in Watford. So the two books are on
mhm.
Amazon, and this one is found on Life Source.
Okay. And we know as an author, once you start, writing, the buck doesn't stop. It's like you want to write and write and write. Is there anything that you are working on now? Maybe the fourth one?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is I think we can all agree that the other aspect of poetry, a lot of people do not enjoy, no, not do not enjoy, that's the wrong term. A lot of people maybe no longer have time to read physical books. They like to listen and
Mm,
watch. So
mm,
because of the that research that I did and with few other poets, I then decided to divert a little and go into spoken word poetry in music.
I see.
So I now
Wow.
I've released a couple of songs where I do collaborations and do my music. Like what the likes of Swake Mboli, they used to do that.
Mm,
Yeah, the
okay.
famous poet, yeah, Albert Nyati from Zimbabwe is also a poet. He used to do that. So that's what I'm currently working now. So I'm working on a few songs, and I'm hoping to release my first album this year.
Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take yet another commercial break. We know when we are having fun, time runs and runs. When we come back, Elliot, we would like you to perform, just to pick, one of your favorite poems and just perform so that we have a taste of, how it feels and how it looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the African Experience. We are taking yet another commercial break. Don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The show, it's called The African Experience with myself, Mandla Mabunda, and my beautiful doctor as always. So before we went on an ad break, we were promised some poetry. We were promised a performance. So I will just hand over to our guest to give us what they have prepared for us.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to give a bit of background to this poem that I'm going to read. It's also a mental health poem. I like this poem because I tried to combine the experiences of different mental health issues to bring them together that the poem can give an appreciation of how people struggle. So the title of the poem is My Experience. My Experience. That's the title of the poem. While some boast of their vast experience, experience in engineering, experience in teaching, experience in everything, I boast of my own special experience. Experience in loneliness for much of my adulthood, experience in failed relationships, experience in dejection and rejection, experience in sadness and madness, experience in repression and depression, experience in sorrow which dried my marrow, experience in hearing voices and noises, experiences in suicidal thoughts of all sorts, experience in imprisonment and embarrassment, experience in despair without repair, experience in shame and blame, experience in psychological commotion even during demotion, experience in low self esteem and steam, experience in aggression and regression, experience in tears, not cheers, experience in jeers and fears, experience in drug abuse and misuse, experience in stress and distress, experience in underwhelming performances because it's overwhelming, experience in confusion and indecision, experience in being chained and strained. This was not until I went to the well to feel well. Salvation changed my situation. Feelings of dejections fizzled after finding redemption. Understanding my special creation boosts my emotions. Can you see my smile from a mile? Thank you.
Wow.
Sure.
Wow.
Oh
Wow.
my
Wow.
word. This is just it's so deep. It's so when it starts, Doc, you think this is dark. This is going on a dark downhill. But
Yeah.
but when it comes out, it's such a beautiful, beautiful sunshine at the end, telling you that all is not gloom. You can actually
Yeah.
come out and there's a salvation. Thank you for that. I really, really enjoyed it. Doc.
I did, I did, I did. It's like, yo, because I couldn't imagine how, a mental health, a poem could actually sound. But I love it. I love it. I like that. I like that so much. Perhaps maybe before we end the show, we might ask you, to read another one. Wow. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so now you do performances like live performances. Just give us your experience with those live performances that you have and maybe the collaborations that you have. How do people receive that?
Yeah, so I do spoken word poetry in music, as I said. I think the moment I started to do spoken word in music, it has really improved my listenership because people like to dance, people like to to feel that beat, and with poetry at times, for it to flow with the beat, it makes it much more beautiful than just a plain poem. So
Mm,
I've been invited to birthday parties, functions where I have performed. Last week I was in Reading for a charity event where I did that performance. I also do a bit of some acting, so I normally do my spoken word poetry with a mixture of acting, and it comes very well because after I do spoken word poetry tailored to the event I'm attending, I then perform perform my songs. So I've done collaborations with Zimbabwean artists like Baba Harare. There's another one called Nicky Genius, and there's also another singer who is based here in the UK called Tanaka. Is the one who introduced me to music when I went to record my poetry. He said, "Oh wow, why can't we try a beat on this? And I do the chorus for you." And then that's when I started doing spoken word poetry and music.
Wow, this is very, this is very intriguing and quite refreshing, Doc, to note. And I like now, in a way, that you put this issue that we're grappling with, especially after COVID, a lot of mental issues were highlighted during that time because we were forced actually to think deep and think internally. So thank you really for this foresight of bringing mental issues to the fore. And I'd like to also acknowledge our listeners. We have there's I don't know if it's a he or she, Tigere Makota, who's saying, I'm glad you're raising mental health issues in a fun and friendly way. Kudos. And I cannot agree more, because honestly, we need to start talking about issues that affect our mental health, and I think we will be a better society for that. But now let's go back. Initially, when we first started with the a conversation, you mentioned the issue that back at home in Zimbabwe, your parents or family didn't want you to go and do poetry or spoken written word creativity as a career choice, because it was financially limiting. Now, fast forward to 2024, you're in the UK, you're writing poetry, you're writing books. Now, how are you currently monetizing that? Would you say it can be a career? Now I'm thinking of someone sitting somewhere, a Messina or wherever, Guyani, a child who's thinking, I can actually follow this as a career. Would they be able to monetize? Will they be able to live and provide for their family just on this alone? Can you take us through that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I like how you put across the question. I think to give the background understanding of Zimbabwe during the time when I was back home. Because I completed my A levels in 2006. So soon after that there was serious hyperinflation, and it went on for a couple of years until I think 2010. That's when the US dollar was introduced. So during those few years, it was very difficult to see, beyond the inflation, or to understand how things were going to pan out. So the career choice was mainly focused on looking for a job outside the country, because I've got two brothers who are based in South Africa, Richards Bay. So they were the ones who were my brother Frederick is the one who was funding my education. So I really um, put him, because his vision and foresight was very correct. Because during that period in Zimbabwe, it was difficult to get a job with what if I had pursued that, because the economy was very volatile and unstable. So his vision for me was to look for a job in South Africa. So that's when I had to choose a different career. And with poetry, so then I'll go back to your question. With poetry and creative writing, it needs hard work. It needs hard work and being very, very. So it can be a very rewarding field. But as I said before, a lot of people no longer have time to sit down and read a book. So it's looking at creative ways of reaching the audience, like using Spotify. Like what I'm saying is, we're using Facebook, YouTube to get your work out there, so that people can know you. um, other than that, it needs a lot of effort to market and get known, because if people don't know you, you can't sell anything.
Mm,
So you have
mm,
to link up with people who are in the industry so that they can give
mm,
advice and support. And
mm,
the good thing as well is when I started back in 2006, I think, I tried to submit my work to a traditional publisher. So now there are two ways of publishing: there's self-publishing and traditional publishing. So I try to the
mm,
traditional publishing. That's when we traditional publishing houses that will take your work, look at it,
mm,
and then say no, we want it, or they say no, we don't want it. So now there's
mm,
self-publishing where you can look for your own editors, you can look for your own cover designers, you can look for your own proofreaders. Then you publish your work. Uh,
mm.
that's much easier, but it needs more work in terms of marketing after the book
Mm.
is published. So that's
Yeah.
where a lot of work is. That's where a lot of work is.
Mm,
So I would say it is a rewarding field, but it requires
mm.
a lot of hard work and creating links, getting yourself out there to be known.
Wow. Wow, I like that, I like that. I'm based in Cape Town here, and I'm part of, the poetry cycle. I'm already beginning to see, some linkages, probably maybe after the show, one can link you with, some like-minded people here so that, you can actually expand and have, these different connections. One thing that I like in your approach is that you believe in paying it forward. You shared a bit that your brother paid for your education and all that, but also you believe in you are passionate about the emancipation of deprived groups and all that, and really assisting and helping. Tell us a little bit more about that and how, if at all, you are assisting, in what way.
Yeah, so I would say when I finished my university, I went to teaching. I was a teacher. I started off as a temporary
Mm,
teacher, then I got a substantive post, and I went to teach somewhere in the rural areas. So where I've always been, I've tried to use poetry, creative writing as a source of inspiration to know, working with children that are from different backgrounds. Some of them do
mm,
not afford school fees. Some of them do not even have a decent accommodation. But because the salary was too little, I couldn't do much to help. So what I did is I set up an edutainment group. So we called it an edutainment
mhm,
group, where
mhm,
it was a mixture of education, on teenage pregnancies, STIs,
mm,
HIV, with an
mm,
element of entertainment, where we do that in
mm,
plays, in poetry. And I
mm,
also supported these children to do public speaking so that they can boost their confidence, they can have confidence
mm,
to make conversations. And we started going to local schools where we would do dramas, acting out dramas, and other children would pay. Then we would use that money to pay for some, disadvantaged children in our club. So that's how
mm,
we used to do it. But because of economic challenges, we didn't have proper video, equipment to do it on YouTube or any Facebook. But we tried our best. I also had a friend who was doing medicine at the University of Zimbabwe. So he had another aspect that he looked at, the aspect of the health, impact of health and poverty on disadvantaged children. So he also
mm,
did a bit of motivational speaking, and he had links with friends as well. So we would invite, student doctors to come and educate children on the impact of HIV and STI. Um, yeah, so these experiences shaped my poetry because I then sat down because when I was growing up, when you're teenagers, you just think about love. So I was writing about love. Yeah, you are my beautiful, blah blah blah. Then I sat down and said, what can I do with my poetry? It has to have a meaning and it has to have impact. So that's when I started streamlining my writing in certain areas. So that's when I started looking at those who are disadvantaged and writing poems that can motivate them, that can reach out to the people who deserve to read. So that's another aspect of poetry that it is supposed to have a meaning, and for it to be marketable, it's supposed to relate to things that affect people in their day-to-day life.
Wow, it's quite interesting really listening to you. You seem to me like you're someone who's in touch with who they are and chasing their life purpose, and that is very rare, especially to us really as Africans. The picture that one has when we are talking about African, and especially African men, they hardly ever tap into the soft skills that you're currently sharing with us. And it's very refreshing to hear that. And I mean, Makota is saying, it's so refreshing to learn from you, Elliot. Listening to your story is an inspiration. I wish if your work like yours could have a greater audience to inspire more people. I cannot agree more. I think we need more heroes, more soft skill orientated heroes to come and really talk to us about our mental health and how we can, especially our young stars. Now it's such a crazy world that we live in. So we need more voices like you, Mr. Msindo, to make more noise, and for the volume to be louder and louder so that our youth can be inspired. On that note, what would you say to a youngster listening in a village somewhere in Harare or Guyane or wherever in our rural villages? Because part of the objective of this show is we'd like to inspire one African child to realize that it's possible to chase after your life purpose. It's possible to chase after your dreams and make it. So, what would you say based on that?
I like that aspect because when I look back now where I am and where I started, that alone I hope it is an inspiration because as I said, I grew up in the rural areas where it was tough. We struggled to provide to get even basic necessities. But what I would say is the first thing and the most important thing is focus, the focus. If someone is focused and whoever is listening now, if they are struggling, they should know that the struggles can only be permanent if we don't do anything about our situation. I want to repeat that again. The struggles can only be permanent if we don't do anything about our situation. So the what we need to do is as individuals we tend to cry in pain because the pain will be there at that moment, and then we lose focus or we lose sight of what is in the future. So what is important is for younger people to have focus, to define what they want. If it's art, they should be able to put their 100% effort and look at role models that are in that field so that they can learn from them. And I think that will go a long way to shape better societies.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Before we end, I would like you to prepare maybe another performance because I really enjoyed, the first one. But maybe while you are thinking about, what you're gonna give us as a performance, I want to pick on one thing that my co-host Manda said. The whole issue of men don't cry. But here you are as a man, you are advocating and you bring the issues of soft skills. I heard you were talking about HIV. You're talking about this thing. So traditionally, these are the things that a lot of women will be talking about. Men don't, they don't necessarily advocate for these things. How did you break those barriers, for example, where you say, I'm a man, I also go through the mental issues, and I'm going to talk about it with pride and reach out to others? How did you come to have the guts to actually do it, and how are other men receiving it?
So I think the exposure to resources that are in the UK, they helped me quite a lot to get to where I would say, because I would say the mental health field in the UK is quite funded a lot, and they try by all means to raise awareness, and the services are there for people to use, and the impact that mental health has on men is actually talked about more frequently than it is back home. So that helped me quite a lot, because I worked for a charity organization called Hand Over Mind. It's a charity that focuses on mental health, but this was after I already published my books. But working with people who were struggling, it helped me understand more, and it actually gave me more energy to advocate for mental health.
I see. Let me recognize Tembiso Muyocha, who's saying Elliot's story is an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining, Tembiso, and thank you. Man, I'm sure you are looking forward to get another performance, maybe?
Exactly, Doc. I cannot wait.
Okay, Elliot, just give us another performance, whether it's a poem or it's a song, or but anything that you like to share with us again.
Okay, I would like to read the poem from my first collection, I Fight Me, and it's on page 14. The title is Forgetting My Past. So the reason why I wrote this poem is, you know, just to my readers in the mind of someone who is struggling and how they feel. So I'm going to read Forgetting My Past. I have walked down this road accompanied by demons. I convince myself that the future is bright, spending my present trying to forget my past. I buy pacifiers to forget my painful past. I even close windows, doors, and curtains to shut the past outside. The dark past creeps in and sits on the chair like a vulture lying in wait to seize every opportunity and pounds on my troubled soul. This beer I drink to drown myself, to drown my past. I am fighting tooth and nail to forget my miserable past.
Sure. Yeah, Doc. I'm telling you, it feels to me like there's a deeper story that we're not uncovering within the space of an hour. We really need to have like more sections to get to the person that is Mr. Elliot Msindo. For me, it's deep, but I think like it's stuff that all of us go through, but we hardly ever want to revisit again. And with us listening to him, we are also given a chance to also heal our own issues and traumas, which is quite lovely to see. And on that note, with all this beautiful poetry, spoken, written word, how does one get hold of you? I know that your books are at Amazon, but other than that, where else can we get hold of you?
Okay. So I'm available on all social media platforms on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on X. But most of my work I post it on YouTube and Facebook. That's where I've posted a lot of. I'm also some of my songs are available um, on the other, social media platforms that share music because I've released a couple of songs between 2020 and 2023. So I'm available. I can be reached on any social media platform.
Whew, ladies and gentlemen, there is Elliot Msindo, the poet. Wow, 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 wow. I'm looking at it. I'm like, you are actually touching on things that, sometimes we don't, talk about, but we all have, those things that we wish we could close our windows and, those experiences, pass. Thank you so, so much for joining us and inspiring us. I feel inspired. Will be following you on social media. But thank you for actually, pushing the agenda as a man. And I think you have a different take, on poetry. I've listened to a lot of poems and all that. A lot of people write about, surely trauma, they talk about love and all that. But nobody, I have not met somebody who's actually and deliberately taking the issues of mental health head on and write it from different perspective for Christians and thank you so much. We are happy that we got hold of you and you were available to come. We also have what we call on the show your parting shot. In a very few seconds before the system kicks us out, what is your parting shot? What will be your parting shot?
I would say life is meant to be lived with the people around us. They are meant to be loved, and life is very short for us to spend time quarreling and arguing. It's good to spend time supporting each other and sharing the good times. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have the time for tonight. Thank you. And thank you for always, listening to our platform. I want to thank our technical producer. There is no way that, this show can take place without, a DJ Messi who's actually assisting us. And we want to thank, Pastor Strike and the entire team. And thank you, Mandla, I always look forward, to this moment because that is where we share, the pair with the story. Thank you so much, my sister, for always, going the journey with me. And I like that. Thank you so much. Let me give you the parting shot, Manda.
No, I feel so much refreshed. I must say, Doc, after hearing Mr. Msindo narrating his story in a soft-spoken word, it doesn't come across that often, especially with the connotation of what Africa is. So I'm hoping everyone now has a sense that life is too short for us to spend quarreling and fighting. So on that note, next week, next time, next place, same time. We're looking forward to yet another beautiful story that we will be sharing with you on the African experience. Thank you and stay blessed.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.